All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff and Matt as we will take on a very tough, always formidable Pittsburgh Steelers team this weekend. Huge game, Battle of Pennsylvania. Big test for the Eagles coming off a game where they didn't play so well. They played down to the competition after a game that they played up to the competition against Baltimore. Kind of a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde here in recent weeks with Eagles. But they certainly got to play much better this week against the Steelers. And we're going to dive into the Eagles-Steelers game, talk about, obviously, the residual drama, which is, I think, hopefully over with the Eagles now that both parties have addressed the media. Brown and Jalen both spoke to the media this week. And obviously BG went right on the radio the following day and that morning and apologized, saying that he basically was jumping to conclusions and really shouldn't have assumed anything. So BG, just quickly got out in front of it as quickly as he could to diffuse what was some, I don't know, if, whatever you want to call it, drama, controversy between Jalen. What's that?
Waste of time.
waste of time. Yeah, it ultimately is a waste of time. I think both of those players, spoke to the media and both said everything's good. We're going to get into the injuries. One big one on the Steelers side we'll talk about, and our typical keys of the game, and then wrap it up with a prediction. So, as far as BG, I wasn't going to get into sound bites. I was thinking about playing them. Nah. Again, I think I know Matt certainly is sick of talking about it. I'm only bringing it up because it is a hot topic, whether we want to talk about it or not. So, bottom line is, hopefully you guys went on YouTube or watched the press conferences live if you wanted to. If you didn't, missed out on it, both of them addressed the media and said, well, according to A.J. Brown, he's like, everything's good and our relationship's personal. And basically saying everything's good. On to the next, let's talk about the Steelers type thing. Jalen, same thing. Basically just said he talked to BG, talked to AJ, everything's good. Moving on. Basically they also acknowledge that the passing game is an issue, and hopefully they can get that thing straightened out this week against the Steelers. Last time they played the Steelers, the passing game actually clicked really well. I may recall that, Jalen went deep to A.J. Brown a couple times. A.J. Brown went off in that game, coincidentally.
Yeah.
I remember the infamous in the end zone.
Yeah, perfect passing game last between Hurts and A.J. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, it's been nipped in the butt. Hopefully it was nothing to begin with. Much ado about nothing, as Shakespeare would say. And we could just move on and get past this. And I think the real focus is, and the whole reason why it was a controversy to begin with, that the media read into based on Brown's initial remarks, and even BG bought into it a little bit. Passing game needs to improve. I mean, I think everyone agrees with that. The players agree with it. I don't know why it's a struggle. It shouldn't be a struggle. We've talked about why we think it's a struggle, because we watch the games, we watch it on tape afterwards, and Jalen's missing some open guys.
It is not the wide receivers, and it's not the offensive line.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a great chart that one of the people put up. That's something I really should have used for the show, but I'll speak to it as best I can. One of the Philly PHY guys, I forget who it was. It wasn't Zach Berman, but it was like one of his sidekicks there that worked for PHY Sports there in Philly. Had a chart that had like all the top 10 quarterbacks or top 15 quarterbacks and the amount of time that they have to pass versus passing yards, like basically like their efficiencies across the board. And Jalen, out of all the quarterbacks that had much high, one of the columns was 20-yard passes down the field, 20-yard plays down the field. And Jalen had the most time out of any of the quarterbacks and the least passes down the field. So that right there is a huge red flag.
Mm-hmm.
All these other quarterbacks are able to get the ball down the field, complete passes in way less time. Like, it stood out like a sore thumb, Jalen's numbers.
And probably to lesser wide receivers too.
So what is contributing to Jalen's issues? That's really the crux of the matter. What is it? Is it because he needs to get more of a rhythm and they can't do that because they're running the ball so much this year, because they have a star-studded MVP running back, and it takes Jalen more time to get into the rhythm of the game and more confident throwing a ball? Or is he just hesitant because he's afraid early in the season when he's throwing all these picks and creating all these turnovers that he's almost overcorrected himself, where now he's afraid to throw the ball unless the guy's wide open?
I think he's overcorrected because he wins games. He doesn't mind not having all the passing stats in the world. He'd rather win football games. So I think he's like hesitant to throw that ball because he's a little bit skittish on the turnover. I think that's it,
Yeah.
I think if they need to pass the ball, I think they'll be fine, unless it's like Jalen's never been a good 2-minute drill type quarterback. If it's less than 4 minutes to go, then he thinks it's almost like he doesn't even have enough patience to let the last 2 minutes go. He's like, I'm going to throw the ball to AJ regardless of how many people are covering him. And this game's either going to be won or lost on AJ Brown. And so I hope we don't have to see Jalen have to win a game through the air. But if they're down by a couple scores and they've got game time to work with, and Jalen has to throw the ball, I think they'll come alive. You can't not come alive. These guys are wide open.
Yeah.
You can't. I can complete passes out there.
Yeah, we talked about it in our post game that it's like these coaches got to be showing if Jalen's not seeing it himself how open these guys are that he's missing and not seeing. Hopefully, these coaches are saying, stopping the screenshots and saying, look at AJ. He's got 10 yards on this guy. Throw the ball right there. Right then and there, he's wide open. Bullet. Easy touchdown or easy completion. You hope that they're doing that, but it's like as these weeks continue where he continues to struggle, you're like, why is he still doing this? Why is he still falling into this hesitancy or bad habit of just taking too much time, number one, to get rid of the ball, and then just seeing these guys that are open, going through his reads and progressions, because he has more time than any quarterback in the NFL. Like you said, the offensive line is doing their job. It's not the offensive line. So he's got to make because it's going to come down. You can't just put all this pressure on Barkley to run for 100 yards every game. Once you get in the playoffs, they're going to start, doing what they can, these teams, to stop the run. And they're going to just say, you know what? We're going to stop Saquon and force Jalen to make the throws and beat us. That's what I would do if I was defensive coordinator. If I was the Detroit coach, I'd say, we're gonna stuff this line. We're going to slow down and contain Barkley as much as possible and force and make Jalen beat us. That's what I would do.
I think that's exactly what the Steelers are going to do. And I think that's Tomlin's game plan, is to take Barkley out. But here's the danger in stuffing the line against Barkley. He might get 5 or 6 carries for a yard and a half, maybe even a loss. But when you stack that line up so close, and if he just gets one small little crease through that entire line, he might score a big one. He might go for 65, 70, 80 yards. Yep. So I'm like, bring it, bring it. I just hope that if they do that the Eagles still stay committed to that running game a little bit, but they're going to be able to hit plays regardless. So if you want to load up on Barkley, they should be prepared to pass the ball, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. My other fear for this game or concern is that now that all this focus this week has been on getting the ball to Brown, is that the Steelers will be like baiting or just waiting, because they do a great job. They're one of the leaders in the league this year of interceptions and turnovers. So they're already good at it. And now that they're going to be like, Jalen's probably going to want to get the ball and make sure he gets the ball to Brown, during our game. Let's be prepared for that and all that kind of thing. And you just hope that Jalen doesn't throw a pick trying to force it into Brown and go get back into some of those bad habits. So I don't know.
I don't think football players play their games or game plan that way. I don't happen at all.
No?
Nope. No. There's no way Mike Tomlin is or even the defensive coordinator is in there saying, well, they're probably going to go to Brown now just because some media guy said something. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, they're watching tape just like they always do. And you have to prepare for AJ Brown like he's AJ Brown. It's no different than any other
Yeah,
game.
no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I guess I don't know. With what has been going on in Philly, it's possible that they may. I don't know. I get what your point is. Might be a complete moot point for Pittsburgh's standpoint. They know you're right. They know they got to stop him anyway. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you got Devontae Smith, Grant Calcaterra. I'm like, I don't think that comes into the game planning. Not at that level. You know.
Okay. That's fine.
Backyard football, maybe if the neighborhood kids talking smack or something, but not.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Fair point. All right, so
we'll see. I could be wrong though. Maybe they'll go to AJ the first 10 plays.
I could see it happening. I can, but it would be flawed if they do that. To your point, they shouldn't do it. So let's get into some of the injuries. Unless you want to add anything less, I know you want to move on from that drama or the whole AJ Brown issue. He played well versus Steelers last time, so
he does.
Hopefully, he has another big game. You know,
it's going to be
just pass well.
It's going to be AJ Brown's mojo of success versus the Steelers.
Yeah,
against Russell Wilson's mojo of success against the Eagles, and I don't know how that's going to play itself out, but it'll be interesting to watch. But the other thing is like it's great that we beat the Ravens and it's great that we have this winning streak because this is a game that's like you needed to be in a position where you could possibly absorb a loss and still be fine. The problem is nobody else has lost yet either. So we're rooting for Bills and we're rooting for, I don't know who the Vikings are playing this weekend, but they'll play each other, Vikings and Lions, one more time before the end of the season.
Yes. Well, I think it's the last game of the year, I think, for those guys.
Yeah. So
last game of the year.
The Lions, everyone's looking, we're Eagles fans, so we watch the Eagles when we break them down. But the Lions have escaped games with the Bears, escaped games with other teams where
the Rams
have been losses, And so, I don't think the Lions are necessarily all that. I think the Vikings might be the more consistent team at this point in the NFL.
I was talking to a couple of I had a card show this weekend. I always run into a couple of Viking fans, so I always get a big spread of fans all the time of various teams. And I was talking to the Viking guys, and I'm like, you know what? I said, you guys are 11-2, and nobody's talking about you.
Nobody.
That's a good spot to be in. You are flying as under the radar as any 11-2 team as I can ever remember.
Yeah, and they're not having trouble putting teams away, whereas the Eagles are struggling sometimes, and it's just interesting to see. I think that we'll see if the Eagles will get up for this Steelers game. I mean, I don't see how they don't, and I don't trust that Steelers line is going to be able to handle Jalen Carter, and the defensive line has been playing really, really well. And Russell cannot move like he used to.
No.
So Bryce Young, nimble, able to escape. I don't see Russell getting away from this young defensive line like he did against our old defensive line in years past. So Eagles will get him. I do think the Eagles will get him. So as tough as the Steelers are and imposing, I'll save my prediction, but I feel pretty.
Don't give it away yet. I'm just looking up real quick here who Minnesota is playing this week. They're the Monday night game against Chicago, who's been a team that's been
they've been playing tough at times, but I don't know. Minnesota doesn't get trapped. Like they're going to handle their business. I think they'll probably win like 20 points.
And there's been like at least 2 games this year where Sam Darnold has thrown 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, he just threw 5 last week.
Well, I know he did it last week, and he did it earlier in the season. He threw because I know that because my fantasy team faced him, of course.
Yep.
We want to talk about that sore subject right now. It's been a sore subject all year, that team. Anyway, you'd love to be Minnesota and a team that's 11-2 and no one's giving them any respect or talking about them. That's where I'd love to be, and if I was heading into the playoff picture, Because, yeah, I mean, think about it. If Detroit does stumble, because they got a tough game, like Minnesota beats them at the end of the year, say they could very easily have a tie record going into that last game of the season, and Minnesota could beat them. And suddenly they're either the number 1 or number 2 seed.
Yeah.
And maybe Detroit bounces, like, depending what the Eagles do, they could fall to the number 3 seed suddenly, Detroit. I mean, that's still very possible.
Yep.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's going to be, I tell you what, those last few weeks, it's going to be
nobody's going to be able to take a playoff. Like, it's from here, like, we're basically already in the playoffs, so to speak. Because, like,
the Eagles clinched the playoff last week.
What was that?
They clinched the playoff last week. The Eagles did. They clinched the playoffs, but that's seeding still yet to be determined.
We want home field.
Yeah, for sure. Especially against a team like Detroit. You want to bring them out in the elements, you know, a dome. You always want to bring a dome team out in the elements, always. All right, moving on. Injuries. Good news for the Eagles, okay? So the only one who had limited practice today, but at least he was still practicing, was Sidney Brown, the only one. So he was limited, but he was practicing. Everybody else, including Reed Blankenship, who missed last week, and as well as Covey, played 100% today. So full participation. So everyone's healthy, except for, you know, Sidney, who's looks like he's doing okay, or at least on the way back. For the Steelers, I don't know who these guys are. I don't follow Steelers that closely. Maybe you could shed some light on these guys. One of them's name is Elliott, and the other is Agunajobi. I probably butchered the hell out of that name. They're starters that missed practice today.
Yeah.
As well as, and this is the big one,
Pickens.
Yes, thank you. So Pickens, and it sounds like Tomlin is preparing to play this weekend without him. He's not officially been ruled out, but the reports are from Tomlin is that he's expected to have basically a committee approach to replacing Pickens. So it sounds like it's very possible, if not likely, that Pickens may miss this game, which would be a huge break for the Eagles because he is their downfield threat.
Yeah, Pickens is and you can't mess with the hammy. So he's got a pretty significant hamstring injury. So even if he gets the go, he's going to be interesting to see if he can actually run at full speed or if he's just sandbagging a bit.
Yeah, it is a hamstring issue. It's a good call on that. It's the same thing with their cornerback, Elliott. I don't know if he's a starter. Do you know if the guy's a starter, this Deshaun Elliott guy?
No,
is he a starter?
Sure. I know the other guy is what, a defensive lineman?
The other guy's a defensive tackle. Yeah, that Ogunabi guy. He's got a groin issue. He's the other one that didn't practice.
Yeah, I think he might be a starter. Not sure, but, Pittsburgh's prepared to cycle in those D linemen.
They're always good depth-wise anyway, And the Steelers team's always well prepared. I've been in battles with my fellow Steeler friends that I have, some of them of which have not been huge Tomlin fans, and I'm like always find myself defending Tomlin. I'm like that guy. I'm like you have one of the best coaches here.
It is.
Like I would take Tomlin on my team any day of the week.
He is. Everybody gets tired and stale of somebody if you're not winning Super Bowls, but I'm like Tomlin is the most consistently messaged guy. Like he is exactly who he says he is. He coaches exactly how the players should expect him to coach, and the players love him. Like the players love Mike Tomlin. So he's not. It's rare that you find a tough coach that players still love. Players are usually a little soft, but they just Tomlin sets a high standard and he expects you to meet it. And he addresses all sorts of egos and stuff like that. Like he's a great leader.
Agree, 100%. Yeah, I love him as a coach. So I'm like I said, I always find myself defending against Steeler fans, their own head coach. It's funny. Not everyone, but then they come around. They're always like, "Oh yeah, you're right. He's a good coach." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not."
We just look at the division. Like,
he's very consistent. Look at his record. I mean, again, it's amazing the Steelers coaching tree or coaching lineage, whatever you want to call it. They've only had like 4 or 5 coaches in their entire history of their organization. It's amazing. All of them that they hired have always gone like 15, 20 years. Chuck Noll,
Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher. Trying to think. And then, of course,
I don't know who was there before Noel.
Can't remember. Maybe it was, I mean, they're only on like their fourth coach in the history of their program. It's unbelievable. I mean, think about like the Giants or some of these bad teams have been through 4 coaches in the last like 4 years.
Yeah, just look across the division at the Browns. They've had like 100
right.
coaches.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So I went through the injuries. The key is that, we're going to be back to our full strength at safety. And what's his CJ Gardner-Johnson, who was dinged up twice, had to leave the game last week. He's not even on the list. So whatever injuries he had, he's perfectly fine. So, and he's playing a lot better. He was kind of like, there's one guy who was not playing all that great early on this season, but has come on lately with interceptions, hard hits. He's always been hitting hard, but he seems to be playing a lot better in recent games.
I think he recognizes the loss of BG as well, though.
Yeah.
So taking a more vocal leadership role on that field with BG on the sidelines, I think he's got that team fired up. Everyone has different personalities. You won't ever see Reed Blankenship jumping up in the air and psyching up the team like
trash talking. Like CJ could trash talk with the best of them, like BG can.
Yeah.
So I can see that. Yeah. So from that aspect, he probably did volunteer. I'll be the trash talker on defense.
And they all do. I mean, Carter, there's so many things that Carter reminds me of JB with because he's yapping at dudes all the time.
He is.
But
he's also talking to the quarterback.
Yeah, but he's doing it in a way where you kind of know that's his entire game.
He's trying to get in their head. Yeah, I agree 100%. And he also is great and funny. And you pointed this out probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. You're like, he's great at taking a dive when he gets pushed late or whatever. He did it in the game. I don't know if you remember seeing it. He made one of these, whoa! The guy hardly touched him, and he fell.
He's a smart,
backwards,
smart player. He's checked in every aspect of that game, and I know, when you watch him, he looks like he's going to lose his cool, but he kind of has it under control,
right?
And he does. He just gets under the skin of the other players, and he's talking to those offensive linemen every single snap.
Well, he's probably talking about them holding him every freaking snap.
Yeah.
He gets held a lot that they don't call.
Yeah. I think he's going to have an impact in the game, and I feel good about this Eagles-Steelers matchup. And normally I'd be like, oh, shit, this is a big one. But I think we're going to have them handled.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's dive into the keys to the game. What is your key to the game, or one of your keys to the game?
The key is to not let Russell Wilson play against us like Patrick Mahomes. Just keep Wilson in that pocket and hit him, and just do that all game long, and we'll be fine. I don't think we'll have any problems stopping the run. I mean, Najee Harris.
They do have 2 good running backs.
Yeah, they've got a good running defense.
Be dangerous, and obviously Harris is pretty good too.
Yeah, our defense seems to be pretty good at stopping the run, though, and we played some pretty serious running backs this season. So,
yeah, true.
It's definitely a test. It's a challenge. They're probably going to chunk up plenty of yardage, but just don't let them break one long one.
Yeah.
Let Saquon win the running battle against those running backs. Contain Russell Wilson, and then make sure T.J. Watt is handled. Make sure he doesn't have a Pro Bowl game. If he gets a sack, okay. If he gets 2 or more sacks, we might be in trouble.
Or if he's getting relentless pressure on not even necessarily getting Jalen, but getting back there and getting Jalen to skittish and leaving the pocket too soon, all that kind of thing. I know I mentioned this last podcast. I asked where does he line up on the field, and I don't think either one of us remember. I think he's on the right side mostly, if I remember right. They also might move him on the other side too. I can't remember.
If you're on the defensive side of the ball, he's usually on the right side.
Right, that's what I mean.
If they're on the left side of the TV screen, he's on the bottom of the screen.
Yes, exactly. Right. That's exactly what I mean. Yes. So with that being said, that means that it's Mailata who will have the responsibility of stopping him.
Yeah.
Not laying down.
Which we like. I think we're going to be fine. I think our O-line matches up with their D-line better than their O-line matches up with our D-line.
Yeah, and at this stage in their career, Mailata is probably more agile than Lane Johnson because, for number one, he's younger and he can move. He's a former rugby player. He's used to, so that might actually work in the Eagles' favor. Not that Lane Johnson couldn't, contain Watt either, but I think that might be a better matchup having him versus Mailata.
Yeah.
Although his quickness he's very quick too.
Yeah, and they've got Cam Hayward on the other side of the line, so
is he a tackle, Hayward? He's not an end, is he?
I don't know if he's like a hybrid tackle end. He's just a big dude.
Good, yeah, he's good.
But I think our line is good. We have a deep, good offense. Right. So we should.
Yeah, and it's healthy. Knock on wood. Everyone's healthy. And I know that we both looked at some of the analysis that what's the guy that does the O-line analysis for the Eagles sometimes? Baldy. Saw the Baldy footage pointing out of how Juergens has been doing so far. Doing very well. Juergens is playing very, very well. And you can tell that also because no one's ever talking about him. So if you're not talking about Juergens during the game,
no, and he's a big dude.
The only thing he's got to worry about sometimes in the tush push, he fumbles the snap.
Yeah,
I don't know if the snap is always.
He hikes it into his butt.
Yeah, and he doesn't quite get it to Jalen. But other than that, Juergens has played very well. All right, my key to the game, you mentioned him, but I'm just going to take a different angle on him, and that's because the Eagles never beat him. They never beat him, and maybe this is the first time that the Eagles will finally beat Russell Wilson. He is unbeaten against the Eagles, never lost the Eagles when they played with Seattle, and he's undefeated this year with the Steelers. So something's either going to give or he's going to continue the streak this weekend. So, but which plays into my prediction and my thoughts about this game clearly, because I can't. It's just, to me, it's just a stat that I can't ignore. I can't ignore that stat. I've never seen the Eagles beat Russell Wilson, and there's been many times where they should have, and he still pulls it out. So my key to the game is this, to beat Russell Wilson. I don't care how you have to do it, whether it's pressure, whether it's getting turnovers, whether it's whatever you got to do. They just have to figure out how to finally beat this guy. He always has that knack also against the Eagles where he might be trailing. The Eagles are winning late in the fourth, and he used to be Lockett, who used to kill the Eagles. You'd almost be just waiting for the play. And sure enough, boom, he'd find Lockett downfield for like 40 yards, and he'd take it the rest of the way for a touchdown. He's playing well. Wilson's really had a great season, and he might be down Pickens, which again I think is going to obviously help. That Austin guy can be dangerous though. He's a sneaky, speedy, guy that can find space and he's quick enough to beat maybe some of our cornerbacks like Slay. I want to put Slay on Austin. I don't know if he's fast enough.
Well, the safeties just have to be smart not to get beat by that deep moon ball by Wilson. Just keep everything.
Keep it in front.
Let the line back on, take care of the run game.
Yeah, he's not the scrambler you said, so it's not the same Wilson we're used to having to beat. He's not as fast and mobile back there. He could still escape, but he's not the guy that's going to take it 15, 20 yards down the field anymore on a scramble. So is this the game where they finally beat Russell Wilson? So that's my key to the game. Even though it's not really, I don't have a specific key other than to beat the freaking guy. Again, get in his face, pressure him, don't make him comfortable back there because he's one of those quarterbacks, a veteran quarterback that's very accurate. You give him time, he'll pick you apart. Doesn't matter if he has Pickens back there or not. Firm Youth is a good tight end. He could be a weapon for sure in the red zone, especially.
Yeah.
So gotta pay attention to him.
In that regard, playing against Bryce Young last week might have been a very good warm-up game to making sure we keep Russell contained.
Yeah,
because he can't run like he used to. So if he tries to break out, I think we'll be prepared for that.
That's a good point. And they're kind of both short quarterbacks. Like Russell Wilson's not that tall. I think he's taller than what Young is, but not much.
Nope.
So that's a good point. Yeah, similar quarterbacks in that respect. Obviously, Wilson's much more advanced in passing, but right now, but Young played well. I mean, Young was impressive last week.
Yeah.
And Carolina overall, I mean, let's see if they keep playing well, because maybe the Eagles. We all say they play down the competition. Maybe Carolina is just really playing a lot better. I mean, they have been, but maybe they really truly are now. Because if they play, I don't know what they're playing this week, but let's just say they upset whoever they're playing or bring them down to the wire again, then clearly Carolina is a much different team now than they were the first quarter of the season.
Yeah,
when they're getting blown out by everybody.
They are. I think it's obvious to football fans. Like, I think the pundits and the writers and the fans that don't know football are like, "Oh, should beat Carolina." I'm like, but all of the people that really know what they're talking about in football usually say it's very hard to win an NFL game. And when you draw the line there, these losses to teams that you think you should be winning, I'm like, it's usually the margin of error is just freaking microscopic with most of these teams, except the Giants and Daniel Jones for most of their season. That was not microscopic. That was a clear
Oh, they were getting blown up by everybody.
The Browns and Giants, no help because the quarterback position is so screwed up on both of those teams. But the Panthers, you've got a quarterback, and if you're a Panthers fan, you got to be happy about what you've seen from that team when you thought a year ago, like, oh man, we drafted the wrong guy.
Yeah. He looks like, you could build around him now. He looks like he's certainly doesn't look like a bust that, that he was looking like early on. Looks like that benching. Sometimes it's good to bench him. Let him, some people are always, oh, they benched him so they know he sucks. No, sometimes it really is smart to just let the guy get a taste of the NFL, struggle a little bit, figure it out a little bit, and sit him, let him watch from the sideline for a while. And understand the game from that perspective, and hope that he learns and comes back and plays better. That's exactly what he's done. So kudos to him. It's a good story. I like him. I mean, when there was a little piece, I don't know if you saw it, but when CJ got hurt the first time and he was down, writhing in pain, Bryce Young walked up to him and started went into a quick prayer for him right on the field.
Good kid.
You don't really see that kind of thing from the opposing team. Unless it's like a major serious injury, which, by the way, that Overshown injury, I don't know if you, I think I might have texted you about it, but he tore everything.
Oh,
ACL, PCL, MCL, tore all his ligaments in his knee.
That sucks. He's a good player.
He's a really good player on Dallas. Kind of in the shadow of Micah Parsons, but even Micah's like, that guy's been playing better than anyone on our defense this year. So that's a big loss for Dallas, and he's probably going to miss most of next year with an injury like that.
That sucks.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. He's he's a Cowboy, but you hate to see players get hurt that bad. When I saw that and I saw his leg just laying on the ground and he wasn't moving it in a weird angle, I'm like,
yeah. Well, he had like 10 guys fall on top of him.
Kind of like the running back and everyone else went backwards, and his knee must have been in the middle of all that. And horrible, bad injury. I'm glad they didn't really show it.
No. So here's the thing. Getting back to the Steelers and Eagles, you can't have Jalen be afraid to run the ball if he focuses too much on passing. So I'm not concerned he's going to throw to AJ all the time, but I think he might hesitate a bit on when he should have moved out of that pocket when it does collapse. So we'll see how he handles that stuff, because they will need him to run for some yards. Like people want to criticize the 108 yards passing last week, but he broke 10 to 15
2 big runs
when they needed
time in the game. Yeah.
So he's going to have to do that against the Steelers. And if he can add some passing to that, here's the thing. If the Eagles are able to add just a little bit of successful passing, you're not going to stop us. Like, flat out, you're not going to stop us.
That's why I'm anxious to have them have a more balanced offense, because then they can beat Detroit and anyone else.
Yep.
But you got to start seeing it, because somehow they're definitely struggling, and I think it's mostly Jalen. And I'm not a huge fan as the season goes on. I like Kellen Moore how he sticks to the run, but I don't know. Again, I've talked about it many times. The first quarter struggles. That's when the coaches are supposed to be planning, strategizing on how to beat this team, and they've failed every single game this year. Every game.
They have. It might be one of those things where it's just like, stop overthinking it. Like, just go out and play football. Just run some simple plays, slant patterns, simple runs.
Yeah.
I don't know, nothing too complicated. Like just simplify that first quarter.
Let's
Let's
see who works. AJ Brown's quick slants. Maybe you catch, obviously you got Devontae Smith, who's great at finding open space, getting open somehow, finding the space. Great hands on both of those guys. And obviously Ronnie Barkley. And then, I don't know. I wish they did more like just basic play action passes versus the
100%.
RPO stuff.
We've talked about it since the beginning of the season. I'm so sick of the RPO.
Yeah.
Especially when you got a guy like Barkley, and maybe it's because they lost Van Summerlin, so they lost some of those. We're running the ball and trying
Well,
to.
did you see the fullback they signed? He's going to make his debut this week.
Yeah,
so as a load.
We'll see if that changes things. I think it'd be helpful if we had him in this game against the Steelers. But you start pounding the ball with that, and then you've got the play action that will work.
Yeah.
But I agree completely. Put Hurts under center. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
The RPO is beat. All you do, we got called with another illegal man downfield last week.
I know that happens too, right? So they may even run it effectively, but because it's an RPO, legal man down the field, Barkley gets a 20-yard gain, but it's called back or Hurts keeper, and it's just it causes all those problems. Exactly. Did you hear, by the way, on a side note, because of we were talking about it, they missed like 2 blatant face masks in the Eagles game.
Yes.
And the NFL is considering having a I don't know if it's like a instant replay or you can double check or something like that, but they're thinking about considering, at least for face masks only, is like the NFL would call down to the field and say
they should. It's an egregious foul that you can't deny. Like there's no doubt. It's not like, oh, did he really have his face mask? No, he definitely had it because the guy's head usually gets
taking him to the ground with his face mask. I mean, God, I don't even know how they missed that. They'll call these ticky-tack stuff all over the field, and then they miss the most blatant face masks.
Who was it? Calcaterra?
Yeah, it was Calcaterra.
So Calcaterra, Joe Burrow, Sam
Burrow on the Thursday night game.
Yeah,
total blatant face mask. That's like, what are you guys watching? I just get the flash of the 3 blind mice with their, just the shades on and just trying to walk in with their sticks. And
refs aren't doing themselves any favors because they're ceding away this authority to call the games by not seeing obvious fouls. So
yeah, you gotta call the blatant ones. I mean, you can't miss those. All right.
What do Steelers have?
Any other keys to
well, no, that's
the
not
game
Steelers
that you want to bring up?
Well, what do the Steelers have to do?
You thinking of what the Steelers have to do? We're talking about the Eagles keys to the game.
Well, that's the key to the game. What if you're the Steelers? What do you think you have to do against the Eagles team?
I think you have to, like I was kind of saying earlier, I would try to shut down Barkley, and force Jalen to beat me with his arm.
That we can pass. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That would be my strategy.
Steelers key. And, the Eagles defense just needs to show up and play solid defense. That's all.
Yep.
Contain the run. Don't let them break any big ones. Both of these teams should be thinking, make those teams drive it the full 80 yards. Special teams will probably be important with this one. Can Jake keep up with
Jake make some kicks in this game to get his confidence back?
Well, if there's one advantage this game on the Steelers, that's very clear. It's Chris Boswell.
Right now, Boswell's not missing anything.
No. So that's
a lot of field goals.
Ultimately.
Yeah. So I don't know if I have any other keys to the game. I think
I don't.
I think it's an evenly matched game. I don't see one team blowing the other one out. We're getting into predictions now. So you want to go first? You want me to go first with the predictions?
I think the Eagles are due for a loss, even though I don't want to see it. But I'll bet you they lose by a field goal. Maybe we miss one, and maybe they don't.
Do you want to guess who you picked during our pre-season predictions for this game?
I think I would have picked Eagles.
You did.
Because the Steelers didn't have a quarterback back then. It was like, what are they going to do?
Right. We both picked this, just for the record, we both picked the Eagles to beat the Steelers back then. And again, we didn't, that was without the Russell Wilson factor.
I'll go 23-20 Steelers.
23-20 Steelers. That's a good score. That's kind of where I am with this game. Matt goes Steelers 23-20. Man, that's a good score. So it's like, where do I go now? Shoot.
I should let you pick first at some point.
I know. I feel like that's all right. Gosh, that's really right where I have this game. That's like the sweet spot.
Well, just say 23-20 Eagles.
I could, but just change it up. I don't know. I guess I don't have to. I don't have the Eagles winning, so I can let that cat out of the bag.
Can't change it up that way. Yeah.
I can't pick against Russell Wilson until they beat Russell Wilson. I can't get there. I want to get there, but I can't when it's never happened. It's like, and he's not even lost this year as a starter. So, not only is he not lost as a starter since he's taken over, he has never lost the Eagles. So it's like, again, I could see him making this late, to your point, in your final score prediction. I can see this game being very tight. Wilson has the ball late, drives the ball downfield. Boswell kicks field goal as time expires.
Yeah, or we intercept it.
I'm right there with you.
Or a Q gets his first interception. We're all waiting.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, is this when either Q gets his first or the sniper, our closer, Blankenship is back for this game, picks him off and closes the game out
on that seam pass to the left side of the field.
Right. Or to Fairmouth, to either Fairmouth or one of these something like that.
I would love to see Q get his first pick because I think the floodgates are going to open after he does. Because he's trying so hard to get it. But once he gets it, I think he'll be like, all right, now I can chill out.
Yeah, part of the reason why, honestly, that doesn't have a lot of picks is they don't test him that much for a rookie, especially for a rookie.
2 or 3 pounds.
They're testing Slay more than Mitchell.
I would too. Slay's a little bit slow.
So what do I do for the final score?
Well, you either increase it by 3
or off with my last prediction was horrible. I mean, it was way off. I wasn't even like remotely close.
I would adjust it by 1 point.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, do I see it maybe a little higher scoring game or lower scoring game? I'm going to see this being more like a defensive battle where it might be like 17-16, something like that.
Could be. Say it if you believe it. Otherwise, just go with 23-20.
I guess there's nothing to say that we can't have the same prediction. It's right where I was. Maybe I go 24-21. No, because I think there's going to be Boswell field goals. I will do it. I don't know why it's so hard to just match you, but I'll do 23-20 also. We both have the same final score prediction. 23-20 Steelers win this one. It won't hurt this a lot if they do lose. And I do think it'll be a close game. This game probably is going to go to the end, right to the end. It's not going to hurt them as much as if it was an NFC team beating them,
right?
Tiebreakers and seeding and all that. It still hurts. You don't want to lose, but it's better to lose to an AFC team than an NFC team. We definitely got to root for the Bills this week.
It's going to be a good game. It's going to be on across from the Eagles, though, so I'm going to miss most of it.
Tell you what, that makes that Rams game, because everyone's talking about what a juggernaut, how great the Bills are, and they're good, no doubt. But their Eagles beat the Rams.
Yeah, we did.
They ended up 40-something points.
Yeah, we handled them.
And they had everybody. They had Puka. They had Cup. They had everyone.
Yep.
And the Bills couldn't stop them at all.
Nope.
So that's a kind of a good sign for the Eagles if they have to match up against the Bills. I don't know how good that Bills defense is. It certainly wasn't good against the Rams. All right. Well, that pretty much sums it up. Any closing thoughts?
No, I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah. We both, whenever we pick against the Eagles, we hope we're wrong. But we try to keep it real. I hate picking against the Eagles, but, I just, again, to me, it's all about Russell Wilson. I've never seen him beat Russell Wilson since 2016 when Russell Wilson, or 2012, I think it was 2012. 2012 when he came into the league. I've never seen the Eagles beat Russell Wilson.
Meanwhile,
season, playoffs, never.
Meanwhile, fans are thinking, our streak goes back further. 1965 since we beat Philly and Philly.
That's true. Thanks for mentioning that, because I know I think I mentioned it the last podcast, but yes, the Eagles have not beaten. I'm sorry, Steelers haven't beaten the Eagles in Philly since like 1965. So it's one of those streaks is going to end.
Russell's going down, even though I didn't predict it.
I hope so. We both hope so. Okay. With that, thank you for watching the podcast. Really appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss future content. We'll be back probably Monday. Since it's a later game on Sunday, more likely Matt and I will be back to wrap it up the post game, give you the analysis thoughts on the game, and hopefully we're talking about an Eagles victory over the Steelers on Monday when we will circle back with you. Till next time, Matt, I'll give you one more chance for closing thoughts. Maybe just say goodbye. Fly, Eagles, fly. Something.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's get past the Steelers. If we can somehow do that, it's root against the Lions from there and Vikings.
Yes. Go. Who are they playing again? Bills. Go Bills. Go Eagles.
Go.
Yeah. And whoever's playing the Vikings, which we did say who it was.
Yeah, you did. But we're old and we have short-term memories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just rewind and go back to the beginning. All right. Till next time. We'll catch you later. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds. See you Monday.
Birds.